Welcome back to World Tonight. The Georgian parliament today voted to adopt a controversial new law that will brand Western-backed NGOs and media outlets as foreign agents.
As a result, the U.S. has imposed sanctions over the disputed bill, while Brussels has warned it would freeze the country's path to joining the bloc. What is next for Georgia? We're joined right now by Shota Gvineria, Economic Policy Research Center of Georgia, and hopefully he can tell us what is next for Georgia. But before we talk about the future, we have been talking about this bill for quite a while here on TVP World. But let's remind our viewers, what is the foreign agent law and what effect will it have on Georgia as well as the Georgians?
Hello. Thank you very much for your attention to this very important issue. About the law, basically, we do have a very unfortunate experience of the same law being unfolded in Russia and other countries that fall under the sphere of influence of Russia. And we know that this kind of law is basically a tool for the authoritarian regimes to silence the civil society, non-governmental organizations, free media. So this is basically a tool to control the parts of the critical society that does not share the authoritarian rule of the ruling elites and regimes. And this is what we see in Georgia right now. It's an exact copy of the Russian law. That's why in jargon in Georgia we call it a Russian law on agents. And there is a very little room for speculations of what is it or what it is not, because it's an exact analogy of what Putin introduced in Russia, and we see the results of this law already in Russia, and we see what consequences this introduction of this law had on Russian civil society, media environment, opposition parties, and everybody who was opposed to Putin's rule.
But can you give us some details, because we're being watched by people in the United States, all over the world, and they have no idea sometimes what is happening in Russia, what is happening in our region. So can you give us some more details? How will, in reality, will it affect Georgians?
Okay, clear. So in the first place, to start with, this is the legislation that will mandate all civil society organizations in Georgia to register themselves as the foreign influence. They remove the word agent from there, but as the organizations that are trying to implement foreign interests in Georgia. And every organization who receives more than 20% of its income from abroad, being it the grants for democracy development, or being it the projects funded by the European Union or any of the member states, any organization with the more than 20% of income coming from the outside of Georgia will have to register as the organization implementing foreign interests in Georgia. This is, of course, intimidating on one hand, and this is stigmatizing and labeling civil society organizations as the traitors of the nation. And this is, we know, the authoritarian rhetorics that basically everybody who is not with us is against us. This is part of this policy. So they want to show that if somebody does not share the policies of the ruling regime in Georgia, they are the puppets of the outside powers, and there is this global party of war, which controls everything and everybody in the world. And this is, by the way, the party that dragged Ukraine into the war, and their objective is also to open the second front in Georgia. So this is the big narrative of the Georgian Dream ruling party. As mad and crazy as it sounds, this is the direct continuation and extension of the Kremlin's propaganda and the wildest conspiracy theories that we hear from Moscow. And this is the main line of argumentation of the Georgian Dream Party while introducing this law. So this is the context. They want to use this law against everybody who has any sort of relations with the Western partners. So this law will deliberately target organizations that enjoy support and good cooperation with the Western donors and Western strategic partners of Georgia. So the big objective here is to isolate Georgia completely from the European Union, European countries, especially the United States, and to leave Georgia's society face to face with Russia and Russia's proxies that are ruling Georgia at this point in time.
Right, so as expected, the Georgian Dream decided to override presidential veto on this highly controversial bill. We all saw it coming, and I guess the Georgian opposition saw it coming as well. So what will happen now? Is there any plan for Georgia?
Well, the plan is that the world clearly saw that the society of Georgia and the public, more widely speaking, is very vocally and actively opposing this law, and not only the law, but this engagement from Georgia's Western orientation and rapprochement with Russia. This is something that most of the Georgians, vast majority of Georgians, are united around. And the good news is that the voice from Tbilisi, the voice from Georgia's civil society was heard by international community and Georgia's strategic partners. So now everybody understands that Georgian people need help. They should not be left alone face to face with the Russian hybrid warfare and Russian proxies that are in control of the government right now in Tbilisi. So we hear not only very harsh statements of our European partners and partners from the United States, but we already see some actions. There are sanctions. There will be more coming in the coming days, because today was the milestone. There was still a little hope, little piece of hope that basically the Georgian Dream would come to their senses and not push this law forward. But now it's already fait accompli. So we face new reality when they have defeated the veto, and they basically declared that they're not going to back off. So now the choice is that we need to bring this process to the October 26 elections peacefully. We do not have to allow Georgian Dream to do any provocations, and we need to somehow manage the process in a way that this outrage of the people is channeled into the political process and the voting.
On that note, do you believe that the Dream Party has even a chance of winning these elections? I mean, do they have a big support group?
A huge one, I would say.
What do you say?
Yes, if we had high expectations that the Georgian Dream will conduct these elections in a free and fair manner, then of course not, because we see how many people oppose their policies out in the streets. But the problem is that Georgia at this point in time is not a functioning democracy. And the Georgian Dream Party does have the tools for manipulating with elections. They do have administrative resource in their hands. They do have Central Election Committee, which is the main body that conducts the elections as the extension of the ruling party. So they do have a million of different ways of manipulating with the outcomes of the election. But having said this, the opposition to the policies that were now openly declared by the Georgian Dream are so high in the Georgia society that even with the manipulation, I do not see how they will survive these elections, and I'm absolutely sure that the Georgian people will find ways to register their the rightful right for the change in the government. It will not be easy again because Georgian Dream has a lot of tools, and they still monopolize all branches of power in the country. But this is the fight that Georgian people will win in the end because
Well, unless Russia will meddle with the elections, it's also another scare that Georgians will have in October.
Well, Shota, if you say that those are Russian proxies in the Georgian government, then therefore it's Russia meddling with the election process. But I'm wondering.
Absolutely correct.
Yes, I'd like also to ask you about the society's awareness, because you're saying that society is now united against Georgian Dream and against this foreign agent law. But how is the Georgian Dream portraying the current situation? And are people really aware that that country is abandoning its Euro-Atlantic aspirations?
Well, so now I think that the Georgian Dream's messaging is a little bit broken, because on one hand they say that the West in general and EU and the United States in particular are evil. They're actually enemies of Georgia, and they want to drag Georgia into the war. And that's one of the main lines of their disinformation and propaganda narratives. But on the other hand, they still say that they will join European Union in 2030, and that's the goal, which doesn't make sense. Absolutely no sense. So that's the standard disinformation technique from the Russian playbook, when they do have the lines of effort which are contradictory and mutually exclusive, and they try to push through this mutually exclusive narratives for different target groups through different channels. So there is still a lot of people that listen to the Georgian propaganda, Georgian Dreams propaganda channels. And most of these people are also pro-Western and pro-European. They do not want to live under the Russian rule. Nobody in Georgia wants to live under the Russian rule. So for them, for this part of the society, the message still is that, look, guys, don't panic. We have our own friends, and in the West, we have our channels. We got the candidate status, and we will get to the membership, but in our own way. No, that's what they basically try to sell, that they will still maintain the dignity and the sovereign democracy idea that we hear from Budapest and from many other places, that okay, we will maintain our pro-European course, but without losing our Georgian ways of living and traditions, etc., etc. So they put European integration and Georgian traditions on different sides of the scale on one hand. But on the other hand, as I said, they still try to sell to some part of pro-European voters of the Georgian Dream, which I hope the there are very, very few left at this point. So this will not work for too long because Georgia is not North Korea. We do have a diverse information environment, and despite this huge polarization in the media and in society in general, everybody understands that now is the choice is very clear. It's either Georgia going the Belarus way, and we will become a state, which we see in Belarus, unfortunately, or we will go the other way. We will make a U-turn again and turn back to European Union. Because right now we're not moving towards Europe. All the leaders from the European Union, from the member states, very clearly told us that with this law and with this government, there is no way ahead towards Europe. And people are getting this, they understand this, and they will fight for their free future within the European Union.
So the situation is complicated, but not hopeless yet. Shota Gvineria, Economic Policy Research Center of Georgia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.